Another battle report weekend this weekend. Now this was, God Almighty, this was on the 12th, so about a week ago, something like that. And this event was so funny. So first of all, me and my mate Andy, we get there thinking every tournament we ever do is on a Saturday. Gets there 9 o'clock Saturday morning after he's drove an hour to pick me up, and then we drove an hour to get to Stockport. To get there and realise we're there the wrong day. So we might be there on the Sunday because it's the 12th, which is foreign to me and them because all our tournaments are Saturdays. Anyway, so we hadn't even got enough to go home, and we hadn't even got enough to play a game because we only got 1,000 points each because it's doubles tournament, right? So he drives all the way back, depressed as hell, goes back Sunday. Look through our opponent's list. We were meant to be playing Tau and Drakari. So I'll go through the lists in a minute. But I'm like, we've got this. We have absolutely 100% got this. I know Tau and Drakari like the back of my hand. We have got this. So, gets there, Sunday now this is, and our opponents have dropped. So now we've got a horrendous Thousand Suns and Blood Angels list. The people who run the events, mates, they've come in, really good players. Oh no, we're in for a bad day. So I'll talk through the list quick time actually. Add list. Player details. View list. So I'll view mine quick time. So we went the most skew list. It was filth. So I took Attack Marine with the Adapting on the Sire to blanket damage, and then I took 3 Ballistic Dreadnoughts, 1 Predator Annihilator with all las cannons, and 3 Predator Destructors, all with las cannons and auto cannons. It was horrific, let me tell you. Then Andy, my partner's list. Oh no, you're going to see the pairings. Oh no. So Andy, my mate, his list was Deathguard, which, if I just show you quick time, Deathguard will be at the bottom because of his name. Andy's list was Deathguard and Sorcerer Terminator Armor for -1 damage, which is horrific. Lord of Virulence to give a unit a 6 Death Shroud reroll wounds with his flamers. Tallyman getting us at CP. Right, the Chaos Spawn were utmost their fucking MVPs by far. They were robbing objectives, causing havoc, regenerating wounds. It was mint. 2 units of Deathguard cultists, they were purely in the list to deliver the contagion to the enemy. 2 units of 6 Death Shroud, and then 20 Poxwalkers. And the whole point of those Poxwalkers was to guard my tanks and hold the middle. They would just go and kamikaze into the middle, screen my tanks, and die, but don't die quite quick enough. They were so annoying. 5 up feel no pains. If you start spiking them, it's just mint. So, that being said, let's go into pairing. So, like I say, we were due to go into Tau and Drakari, which I thought was a banker anyway. But our opponents dropped. I think we were on table 8. Right, so they see. So they ended up having a dropout. So, obviously, the Thousand Suns and the Blood Angels come in. So, the opponents were really good. It was a really great game. All of our I can't even say all of our opponents were great because I'm going to come on to that round 2. It was funny as. So, turn 1, the Blood Angels player was taking a banter list, and it was all Terminators. So as soon as I seen it was all Terminators, bearing in mind which I didn't like because they looked at our lists and then made their list depending on our list, which I hated because I already felt like I was at a disadvantage anyway. So the fact that he took all Terminators, I don't know if he thought that they were going to survive longer with the 4-up invulns, but I was just throwing dice at them at 3 damage and they were dying like fuck. So that being said, so Magnus come out first turn and one-shot a Dreadnought, and I armor contempted, pop smoke, blank to damage, and he killed him. And I'm like, oh no. I looked over to my mate, and my mate's like, oh shit. Anyway, so we sneakily, the following turn, set it up where Magnus would either have to come and kill us, or Magnus would have to come and charge us and shoot us, else he'd stay still. So we rapid ingress 6 Death Shroud next to the tank. The Death Shroud have got an ability where on the Sorcerer on a 2-up you -1 damage, which makes Magnus terrible into him because instead of 3 damage killing a Terminator, every 2 kills one, so his damage output then... Sorry, Andy's just texted me. That's going to short the video. So then he rolls a 1. So Magnus, when we heroically intervened, picks up all the Terminators, or maybe all but 1 Terminator. So we've just lost 300 points. But that does mean my tank's still alive, thank God. So we shoot him in the next phase and leave him on 6 wounds. It's Typhus time. Typhus drops down. On a 1, he does D3 mortal wounds. On a 2 to 5, he does D6 mortal wounds. On a 6, that fucker does D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. He's on 6 wounds. Guess what happens? He rolls a 1. No, he rolls a fucking 6 and a 6 again and kills Magnus. With Magnus off the board, we've got a real good chance. Then my oath targets start popping off. I was picking up units fucking left, right and centre. It was over turn 3 basically. We'd scored 100 to 50 and we absolutely dominated. It was so great. Magnus dying to Typhus was just like, if Typhus didn't do anything else all day, we'd already had a great game. Going into game 2. So we had a bit of lunch, by the way. Shout out to the 3 idiots next to Element Games. By far, anybody who's ever been, if you go to that place, it's one of the best burgers I've ever eaten. And it was, I've got a picture, I'll put it in. It was fucking banging. Anyway, game 2. Obviously, we scored 100, so we're dead on set now to go into the next round. Now, let me tell you about these players. First of all, it was a terrible game. I have not what's the wording like? Not enjoyed a game so much in my entire 40k experience, and I've been playing years. Turns up to the table. How are you? You know, my name's Jack. How are you? Met with like pure light. One of them was sound, and one of them was just a total knobhead. I don't even know if I can show the names because I don't want to slander them. So I might end up blocking the names out here and just leaving the team name. But it was terrible. Turns up, I was like, yeah, how you doing? Like, you know, I'm dead transparent and stuff. And he's straight away like, first of all, I don't care about measuring. I play by intent. So if you can see them, I don't mean to see them. I'm like, oh, well, that's the game. Like, you should be like measuring so I can't see them. Or like, if I line up to see them and then you're like, oh, you weren't meant to see them. Well, I'm halfway through my movement phase now. You can't just move them. But I'm a nice guy, so I'll let him move them anyway. And like, I'll take backs. So he was playing Blood Angels and Iron Siege Force, or Anvil Siege Force. And they thought, with all their infantry, they would just rush to the middle. And we were like, no, like, we've got so much firepower, like, you'll lose these. So they just start throwing advances everywhere. We got Sanguinary Guard and Vanguard vets in our deployment zone turn 1, which couldn't charge then. So I was scoring on the app for starters. So I was like, what are you doing missions wise? Bearing in mind, these people had won their first game 100 to like 40 or something, I can't remember. And they said, oh, we're taking recover assets. So I tried to put it in on the app. Oh, you can't take a recover assets. And then looked at what recover your assets is. You just have to sit in 2 terrain features. 1 inside your home, 1 outside your home. So they'd won the first game by sitting in 2 areas of the board, basically. And they scored max points because they couldn't be shot, whatever. Or like, they'd set up a fights first unit next to their recover assets unit. So that if anybody's, because you can't shoot them, if they was to charge them, they just heroic intervene and fight first. So I went over to like a judge and was like, oh, he's trying to use this. He can't use it. And they're like, yeah, he can't use it. So they were like, oh, we'll go tactical then. runs everything into the middle of the board. We were trying to advise them not to, trying to give them the best options. Would they boot listen? So we just shot them off the face of the earth. They had one turn of moving, and we tabled them in our second shooting phase. To the point where it was that bad, he was like, I'm not even rolling, feel no pains for him anymore. There's no point. And this has become a staple in mine and Andy's Warhammer. He was like, you've just got a meta list. It's just predators, 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 predators. You've got predators everywhere. Which, to be fair, he's fucking right, but why not bring some yourself then? It's not my fault you haven't brought some. So he wasn't making any saves, and he was just being really naughty and just a really awful. Like, he was just not fun at all. And like, to the point where, this sounds horrific, to the point where, because it was Purge, I had to stop shooting. I didn't shoot half of my tanks that phase, because if we tabled him completely, I'd give up on kill one, kill more for 3 turns. So I'm like, oh, just advance with the tanks up. So I was advancing to make sure I could draw lines on the next 2 rounds. So bearing in mind at this point, they cheated their first game 1, because they took a fix you couldn't do. And so they cheated 100 points, by the way, which is incredible to me how, like, that they thought they could do that. But to be fair, I only checked because on the app it wouldn't let me put it in. So I was like, oh, fairs. Anyway, so we destroyed them. So after the game then, me and Andrew were having a beer, you know. We're on for a flawless victory here. We've scored 200 points. Both games have been over in 2 or 3 turns. This dude marches across. He's like, I've just been to my friend who's a dead good TO at our local stuff. And your Deathguard rule is wrong. You can't get the benefits of it. Like, what do you mean? So, first of all, the Deathguard ability is, if you're in contagion, it alters your data sheet. But I'm not getting any buffs here. It's just affecting you because you're the enemy model. It's affecting your data sheets, which is a thing, you know. And to be honest, I'm just sat here watching the Disgustingly Resilient podcast, and Aiden's just been on about the Deathguard rule in doubles. So he was like, well, I've just been to a TO and they've told me you're wrong, so I'm like, excuse me, just hold your horses there 2 seconds. There was a Deathguard player playing behind us. Excuse me, gents, explained. Yeah, that's how it works. It's not a buff to your body, it's a debuff to your opponent. That's why we're getting the buffs. So I'm like, okay. Hold on, just wait there. Goes to every single Deathguard unit, every Deathguard player and it was 80 people, so it's a big event. Everybody's the same. And then I go to my friends who's TOing, Josh, and all them down at Element Games, and they're like, yeah, it's not a buff to you, it's a debuff to your opponent. So we just shot him right up, and we just destroyed him. To be fair, he was just mega salty because we'd absolutely spanked him. But we were trying to advise him not to do stuff, and like, we were trying to have a really good game because it's no fun for us, because then we've got to wait about for 2.5 hours because it was literally over in 30, 40 minutes. So we've got to wait for 2.5 hours then for his next game. We'd much rather be playing dice and helping people get better. I've never had once where somebody's been like that with me because we've won. Because even though we won the first game, we had an amazing game and they weren't salty even though we were winning. There was just absolutely zero need for it, and it really did leave such a bad taste in my mouth. But anyway, that's the stuff. I haven't had a game like that in ages. But it was just like, whatever, mate, we've beat you. Like, just deal with it. Like, you're just trying to catch out on technicalities. You cheated your first game. You literally cheated. You can't talk to me. We're genuine. You've cheated your first victory. That's why you're on the number 1 table with us. Because you scored 100 because you cheated. Anyway, so that's how that went. Because he was trying to cheapen our win. Bear in mind, me and Andy have done many doubles tournaments. It's not like, we've played against TOs and judges who like TO events who never had an issue. So for him, just because we won, go and try to double check his rules is just so funny to me. And when he come out with that Predator, because he had like a crack in his voice as well, he come out dead. You got a Predator. It was just dead funny. I was just pissing myself. So after he said that, this is a crucial part of the story here. So after he said, you've got a Predator list, your contagions wrong, you do. When he come back to us after checking the contagion, he sort of tried to mug me off saying that, your contagion's wrong, you've got the rules wrong, you basically cheated. I'm like, mate, first of all, and this was classic because I looked over to my mate Andy before I said it, as say, shit's about to go down. And I looked across at him and said, mate, for the starters, the contagion didn't kick in. The game was over before he was even close to you. And he scrunched his face up like he was going to fucking rage. And I looked over to Andy, and has any of you seen that Chris Tucker meme when he's like, God damn! And like leans across his chair. That's exactly what he was like. Anyway, so after I said that, he just fucked off and he literally packed his stuff and just went to sit somewhere else. But it was just so funny. So round 3 then, obviously, we've won the first 2 games after having that nightmare round 2. And then, I'll tell you what, this game couldn't have been the furthest way away from that game ever. This game was one of my favourite 40k games of my entire hobby career. It was, in the years I've been playing, I've never enjoyed a game so much. It was incredible. Shout out to these 2 on the screen right now, because they were fucking gents. So we sort of worked out the pairings before, because obviously us 2 winners in the round 2 were finished really early. So we were like, oh, I wonder what it could be. So we went around chatting to folk. We actually spoke to these 2 before we actually started playing, saying, you know, how is it? Because I collect Dark Angels, and I was like hobbying with him, like, oh, they're fucking cool, whatever. So we were chatting with him before the game. I says, oh, well, if I see you in the game, you have a bouncing game anyway now, we've acquainted sort of thing. Anyway, pairings go up, and we draw them. Sound, we've already introduced, everything's sweet, these super nice gents. Start setting up. They've got a land fortress in. Oh, it's so annoying. It was so annoying with that fucking void armor or whatever. Anyway, so we got to bring it down first turn, thinking, sweet. Although for a moment, he was like, oh, you know, it's tough to kill this. You know, I'm just letting you know, it's tough to kill. I haven't had anybody really touch it, whatever. Oh, for a moment, and shot it with 2 predators and killed it and won it. Picked up a couple of units of scouts, which was a scoring unit because we went first. And he looked over to his mate, he was like, fuck. And he went, Dave, I don't know what the fuck we're going to do now. Because he just lost literally like 600 points and they hadn't even moved yet. They come out next turn and fucking battered us. Literally, I've never seen nothing mount Death Shroud so fast as those fucking Leagues of Votann infantry. They were just mopping them up. And then you got like anti-infantry, anti-vehicle weapons taking off tanks. And the end of turn 2, I'm like, fucking hell, Andy, like, we might be on the ropes here, mate. Like, I don't know if I like overexpose the tanks or something, but I'm fucking feeling the hurt because I haven't lost anything all day, and then suddenly I'm packing tanks and dreadnoughts in my box like I can't do it quick enough. So I goes back into our turn. We'd just been hit hard. I think I'd lost 2 predators. I hadn't lost any dreadnoughts at this point, sorry. So I'd lost 2 predators and he's 400 points down. I'm like, oh fuck, and he's still got 3 units of Deathwing Knights, 2 units of Deathwing Knights, which we can't deal with at all. We haven't got the firepower or mass shots to deal with them. So we were down and out for 3 turns. We were like, oh god, this is long, you know, we really wanted to win. Bearing in mind, we were having the best game. Everything was funny. Rerolls were funny. Like, everybody was whiffing attacks, and we were just having an amazing time. I looked over to Andy and was like, I'm so sorry, mate. I'm going to have to sacrifice your character. And he was like, what? I'm like, please just trust me. So I kamikazed his Lord of Virulence up the board to take an objective, which he overwatched. I can't remember if it killed him. Oh, it did kill him because I sacrificed him. Anyway, so I ran it up to take an objective, but what I really wanted to do was bait the Overwatch out. Baited the Overwatch out so my Tech Marine could come round and precision his character. Which, I failed the charge, but it is what it is. But what it did mean is the Overwatch threat was gone, so I could sort of march about a bit. He charges 10 cultists with 3 Deathwing Knights for taking objective off me. And I heroically intervened with a Ballistic Dreadnought, knowing if I armor can tempt it, I'm getting 3 up saves. Heroically intervened, took the objective, and basically he had Storm Hostile, which he couldn't do then in the following turn. And he'd already got He kept Secure No Man's Land from previous turn and got Secure No Man's Land, thinking all he had to do was march on and kill the cultists. So I heroically intervened with the Dreadnought, killed all of his primary, and scored 5 points for us in the subsequent turn, and left those 2 Dreadnoughts tying them up every turn because I was just Armour of Contempt him, because he had another unit, I was doing the same with them. I was Armour of Contempting, because they're 2 up save, it's only -2. I was getting 3 up and 4 up save, so I was relatively good. So then we had a massive primary swing then because I just sat tanks, the other 2 tanks and Dreadnoughts on the objectives at OC4 and 3, and they hadn't got enough because I was just move blocking the objectives. And we had something, like, we were tabled practically, but because I heroically intervened, it swung the game massively. Else what had happened is, that Dreadnought would have been still stuck in my deployment game, charge, full blast, while loads of stuff next turn. But because I heroically intervened, and then he got no more, like, because he was running Gladius, he got no fallback and shoot left. I just tied him up, basically, stop him doing actions, because he'd only got the big stuff left. He'd only got the Deathwing Knights and some Pioneers and, like, stuff like big, heavy hitting stuff. So they didn't want to action with him. So I just killed all of the scoring, and somehow, in turn 3, 4, and 5, with only a few models left, a couple of units of cultists, squeezed out a win when we all thought we were beaten. Even them 2 were laughing and joking, saying, fucking hell, like, we pulled this back. And then I think that moment where I heroically intervened with the Dreadnought, I think that won us the game. And it was all because I had to fucking sacrifice Andy's Lord for do so, because it just all led up to that, really, because he got a CP and he could only Overwatch or give him like an extra AP or something. And basically, the Overwatch killed him, and it meant that we could just sort of do what we wanted. But yeah, a fantastic game, and that does mean Lizard City bitch did win flawlessly. 300 is some score, by the way. And there was some really good players here as well. Lords of War, Team Stonehammer, you all know these names. But it was just an incredible event. And other than game 2, I had an amazing day. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll put some pictures throughout the video as well. I know this is just staring at a screen record, but I like doing these so I can sort of dictate and like just describe what goes on. But yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you next time.